Hope you had a relaxing 10 minutes. So if you can all just turn to a partner or two partners, and I just have some ideas up here for you to think about or talk about. You don't have to go through all of the questions. You can just pick whichever ones suit your fancy. About what you've learned so far, where you're seeing opportunities for your organization, and where you're seeing potential pitfalls. Just turn to somebody next to you and talk about it for 2 or 3 minutes.
Okay, so we're going to come back and Catherine's going to ask you to report out on something.
Yeah, so if we could just have some pairs report out about what you talked about and opportunities or potential pitfalls that you've been thinking about.
So as pairs, you're reporting out on potential opportunities or pitfalls.
Anybody?
Yeah. So from Iowa and Alabama, and neither one of our states has any youth, even a youth advisory board. So I just checked the Iowa's Department of Public Health because I work with children or for families, with the children with with special health care needs. So I'm trying to figure out how our organization can incorporate a youth advisor, but yeah, I'm not sure how we would make that work.
Yeah. And then we partner with Leah at UAB, and they have a youth advisory board, and they do pay, I guess, the leader of that group, but I'm not sure that person is an employee of UAB, like, or of your
Right.
that department. So we're just trying to maybe grow that from what they already have in place, or maybe start one. So it's just taking these ideas that we've seen.
Cool, awesome. Yeah, so either potentially applying the ideas to a position that already exists and then trying to figure out how to incorporate it in the first place, right? Yeah, back here.
I just said about the pitfalls is how to have an advisor that you work 24 hours in the week.
Yeah.
So have it there in the office, and have this space, and have the person there. But as I already answered myself, because we have regional offices, so maybe he can go to the regional that is more close to home.
Yeah, and that's a good thing to keep in mind. Yeah.
I have a question.
Yes.
With your age group, 16 to 24, how do they actually are able to work the 24 hours a week? Is it after hours, after 5 o'clock, or after 3, or?
No, it's during business hours. It's one of the things that we require, because remember, we have our youth advisory council that works after hours on the weekends, but we wanted to make young people and their ideas and innovations and recommendations accessible during business hours. So it requires us to, a lot of people get mad at us every time we release an application, because they're like, you're excluding so many young people. So it's 16 to 21, and so some young people are in college when they start, or we reach out to non-traditional schools that allow young people to work for school credit, or they have their GED, or they've dropped out. And I think that in and of itself is something that makes adults go, oh my gosh, they dropped out, but we'd encourage them to get a job, and it's their life, right? And this creates some sort of economic stability, and so being able to, again, to push back to those, oh my gosh, I don't know how I feel about this. Because I will say that there's a part of me that was like, if somebody had dropped out of high school and they applied for a job, would I be really secretly going, would you go back to school? Can I encourage you to go back to school? What do you think about school? School, right? And so how do we let go of that adultism that we bring to the table all the time?
So apparently that's worked really well for, all those youth that you showed, or in that category, correct, that you showed on your screen?
They come from all different backgrounds, and experiences.
So we got to get back out. And it's understandable because we value that education and degrees so much. But there's a lot of things that just aren't built for this traditional way school is, in this box.
And our world isn't built for everybody to have a bachelor's or a master's degree. Our world is built for
There's
people.
many smart people. Look at all the people who are billionaires at education.
why we cannot hire somebody and be that assertive, them going, and then we actually, meaning my supervisor at the time, was opportunistic, and there happened to be this meeting with our Department of Personnel Administration, which is it's HR for all the state agencies, and there happened to be a meeting, and she asked permission if she could go, she went, and she said, hey, this is what we're thinking about, and it seems like, she played really naive, it seems like it's a barrier to have young people, but guess what, this helps us actually achieve equity and walk the talk, because we're telling people to engage young people as partners. And they said, well, there's no reason why you can't hire anybody. And we're like, should have done that. Guess what? And so I think it's that idea of being really persistent and not accepting no if you know that there's not actually a legitimate reason.
Or at least demanding that they tell you.
Yeah.
Can I also add a question that I would ask in return? You said, well, would be, well, what would you pay someone for? And that's kind of what we did. I'm thinking about really small steps. I work at Colorado so much in youth engagement, and I think a lot of folks do, but your steps may not be the same as theirs to get to the same end goal. So what we did is the answer to the question we asked, what would you pay someone for, it was to enter data, which, whatever, but we hired someone, being clear about what they would be hired to do, and they were a college student at the time, they weren't able to get a high school student, that's fine. But then, as a supervisor, I said, well, what do you want to do? Like, what makes you happy? Like, when you have downtime, what do you do? And so, yes, she enters data, but I'm like, oh, you're going to design our booklet for this? Yes, use your graphic design. Yes, and finding those other windows, because we're paying her through data, and that's what she does. But then I found other ways to engage her true passion, and that was our workaround. So that might be my idea for that. What would you pay for it?
And in her job description, the last one is honor needs.
Yes.
Yes.
That's the
Yep.
Yeah.
Exactly right.
Well, and I think too, you bring up a really good point, because Colorado is not immune to having barriers to pay folks. So because they are state employees, just like they are our rights, that's what allows us to pay them. Now, when we're doing community engagement, we're having huge issues with policies around paying community for engagement, so incentivizing. So you can't use the word payment, that implies employment. So anyway, but one of the things that is my ask while I'm here is to find out, through social capital, so maybe tap into it. I don't know if any of you have influence, and maybe come to saying, help me. But how can we speak to MCH? So the MCH from the federal level is saying, hey, guess what? You actually can use federal funds to incentivize engagement. When we get that, then for state agencies, the door is open, right? Because we, in our states, have these blinders on. We can't see outside, especially when it comes to fiscal and contracting, right? So if any of you know anybody that has influence in the MCH, good.
No, I don't, but I just whispered to my friend here, do you pay family advisors in the Eagle Special Healthcare Base community?
So, do you have a policy?
No, I mean, but I could find it.
Right. Yeah.
How would the family advisor get it?
They're just hired as a part-time consultant, they're just an independent consultant, that's all, they pay $25 an hour, and
But through where?
through,
No, where are they working?
well, this, for the LEND program, is through the university.
For the LEND program, right? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, in Louisiana, we hired a youth advisor several years ago, and it worked out great because not only did we hire him, but he was also a recipient of the services, so he was very familiar with them.
Yeah.
And then we went a little further, and we opened a family resource center in Children's Hospital, which worked wonderfully because he's right there
Next slide. So some of the videos that we filmed are based off of real experiences that youth advisors have had. Some of them are slightly exaggerated, and some of them really are not very exaggerated. So this is some interactions that young people often have with adults in the workplace, and so we want you to start thinking about what is going wrong in these scenarios and how might youth feel alienated by the way that their coworkers are treating them, and we're going to chat about it as soon as we watch them.
And their sound is going to come out of here now.
Yeah, so don't panic.
You sure always attach to your social media. Social media is important.
Today, both of you, we have that big meeting next week, and I just want to make sure we're all prepared and ready to talk about what's happening and all. Catherine, you know, I'm really sorry, I'm just gonna have to say this, like I know, but being on your phone in meetings, it's super unprofessional, and you are gonna reflect on us at that meeting, so if you're pulling out your phone, I'm gonna feel really uncomfortable, so please don't do that. Again, I appreciate it, but please don't do that.
Yeah, sorry, I was just trying.
I know, but anytime you pull it out, it takes from the discussion, and then it reflects badly on us, so, yeah, I appreciate that. Can you work on that for next time? So, I wanted to talk with you about this project that we're doing. We want to recruit some young people from around the state and engage them in our work. And I wanted to, can you please put that away? Sorry, I was just taking notes. Well, come on! Hey, can you talk? Do you want to talk for just a second?
Sure, what's up?
So I just want to let you know that you can come to me about anything. If there's any concerns or anything that comes up here, you know, you can just treat me like your mom, like your cool mom. You're really cool mom. You know what I mean?
Totally, thanks. But yeah, I think we should also treat each other like professionals.
Well, you know, I have a daughter that's around your age, and you know, you guys are kind of alike, and you just remind me a lot of her. And so you can just treat me like your mom.
Cool. Thanks, Audra. I'm gonna get back to work.
Thanks.
And I really need to talk to you. So we hired that new supervisor, and it is stressing me out. He never does his work. I email him, like, and in 5 minutes he hasn't responded to me, and I don't understand what to do. I'm just like, gosh, do your work. I know. I don't know what to do.
Okay. Just to let you know, I can't hear everything these guys are saying. I'm making this for you guys. There's no rules to this thing. If you guys would like, we can make a meeting and talk it through. I'm up for that.
Hey, Catherine, what's going on, girl? Good to see you. Did you watch that new show this weekend?
Which one?
Any of them. I'm glad you're here. It's so nice to have other youth in the office. You know, I'm only like in my early 30s, so I'm like basically a youth myself. I know what the youths are up to these days.
Yeah, I don't even know why I'm here in this position then.
Well, we can be friends.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, I'll see you later.
See you later.
So welcome to the team, Sam. I just wanted to do some onboarding stuff with you. And just first off, you know, in this office, you're not going to get a beanbag chair. You're not going to get those 2-hour lunches. I know that's what all people expect, all young people expect when they work here, but that doesn't happen here. We actually work.
If I could say something,
Yes.
I would like a beanbag, but I would like to be treated as you, like everybody else.
You mean you don't really care about long lunches or beanbags or free swag? You just want to be treated normally?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So what went wrong in some of those scenarios?
Were they perfect scenario? We're judging you now. So, what went wrong? Everything. Call out the everythings.
Boundaries.
Boundaries, how?
Just professional boundaries.
You mean it's not cool for me to act like her mom?
Cool mom.
Cool mom.
Well, the assumptions about like the beanbag and the swag and, this is a Google type of thing, work environment, so I mean, just, that, I think that stigma that might come with the youth or younglings.
Right.
I just have to say that I am in my early 30s, and I didn't think there was anything wrong with that. At all.
At all. Okay, good to know.
I like the standards for young people that we don't give to old people, older people, nothing.
Right.
Yeah.
I have been in so many meetings before where all the young people in the room do not have their cell phones out, and all the adults are sitting there texting away and not interacting with us.
But I think even that being said there, I mean, you were taking notes and just thinking about like, it may look different than having a pad out and a pen. It doesn't mean that you're not interacting in a professional way. You're just, I think, going back to assumptions, like going outside of those assumptions and just looking at how things may look different because computers have been available to folks that are in college, high school, and below, since they were able to access them now. Like that's just reality.
Right.
And what that looks like, compared to, even, and I would say, I work with folks that, would prefer not to use a computer if they didn't have to. That was not part of their growing up, their experience, and so it's just kind of all over the place in terms of that. But being mindful of that, I think is important.
Right, yeah.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
When do you have those conversations? Is it after you hire that person or before you hire that person to discuss what office etiquette's like, or what is their area of interest, or how they would prefer to take notes, and just some of the nuances with having a young person in the office?
You want to address that first? Sure. So I think my first question that I want to almost ask back to you or to everybody is, would you have that conversation with any adult?
Yes.
Okay, so if the answer is yes, so I wouldn't, to be really honest, so I think that's why I deferred the question a little bit. I think there is, like when I have a new staff come onto my team, this is how we function as a team. I don't care how they take notes. I have to be really honest, when I'm in supervision with somebody and they're taking notes about the supervision on their laptop just so that they don't have to duplicate it later, it feels so disengaging to me. And I'm older, but I'm not old, right? And still that's an issue for me. And so I'm leading up sometimes to the people that I'm with to say, it is really distracting. And it's really impersonal to have that. Now, with AMCHP, he's my perfect example. He was the co-chair of the steering committee, and people kept coming up to me saying, AMCHP is, okay, so again, imagine, 6'7" dude, right? When he's sitting down, he's like sprawled out. And he was sitting in meetings and he would be like this all the time. And so people would come up to me because they knew I was his supervisor and say, AMCHP's on his phone all the time. Can you talk to him about that? And I'm like, no, I will not talk to him about that. You are his colleague. You are a colleague. And if you had an issue with a colleague, you would talk to them. You wouldn't go to their supervisor. But of course they didn't. And so he then kept coming to me. So finally I just had a conversation with him. I'm like, listen, people, this is where the example of the phone, being on your phone and taking notes came from, because he was like, I said, you're on your phone and people are frustrated. He's like, I'm taking notes, and he shows me, and I'm like, oh, yeah, okay. Because I don't take notes on my phone, it's too little. And so how do we take the opportunity for a teachable moment? But I personally would not have that conversation because I don't care how people take notes. I just care that they communicate it. If they see that it's disrupting other people, that they're having that conversation with other people.
Yeah, and something that I will say in regards to that also is, can't remember what page it's on, it's in your table of contents though, is that we have a youth advisor orientation guide that was informed by, I think, 7+ youth advisors from Colorado. And the biggest thing in that is literally setting expectations between the supervisor and the youth advisor. And so we have a lot of little check marks of make sure you discuss this, and then also literally just little tips of being keep this in mind when you're onboarding a young employee. And I think a lot of it is just, and this is funny because this is where I'm thinking back to when I was onboarded, which I don't remember anymore. But I think there are certain things that you can call out and just be like, hey, I just want to talk about our expectations for this. And that can be things earlier on we were talking about dress code at work and figuring out what is appropriate. And again, we literally have stuff in there about being on your phone in meetings and and all of that stuff. So I think part of it is not only just talking to a youth advisor when they're first coming on about common misperceptions that people might have, or just trying to establish expectations, but also just sort of realizing that there's going to be times when we're not going to understand each other fully, and that's when we're gonna have a conversation and like be brave and step forward and be like, okay, so you're like on your phone all the time, and that's like kind of bothering me and making me feel like you're disengaged. And then the other person says, oh, well, actually, I've just been taking notes this whole time. So you're not going to be able to stop all of those things from happening, but I think there is something to be said for just setting really clear expectations. And for me, something that I think about is that when I was being onboarded, I remember, I don't know what, Audra and I had like a talk about like emails or something, and it was like literally about like smiley faces and emails, and it wasn't because I was sending all these emails with smiley faces in them, but it was just talking about when I email different people, I'm gonna be changing the way that I talk based on the rooms that I show up in and the people that I'm communicating with. My emails to Audra look super different than emails to random people who come into my office hours, because with those people, I have to be super, super professional. I have to be more professional than they are, so that they're gonna take me seriously as a young person, and then later on, I can graduate into like maybe a smiley face here or there. Right, and then with Audra, I'm just like, here's a GIF, here's a meme. This is expressing my feelings. So, yeah, so that's all I would add on to that, is I think that there's a place also to like be setting expectations at the beginning of supervision, and then like throughout the check-ins of being like, are we at the same place about this? Because I just realized that we weren't.
Yeah, and I think too, although I was like, I wouldn't have that conversation, hearing you makes me think too about capacity building. So Leslie and anytime when they came on, they didn't use email in their daily, especially in a professional way, in their daily world. And so the idea of CC or reply all or BCC was completely, they weren't sure what to do with what. And in the process of all that, I learned that apparently it's against the rules in our State Department to BCC people. And I was like, oh, well, that's good to know. So I taught them how to use it, and I was like, oh, don't do that, I guess. I don't know. I haven't fact checked that, but. But like talking to them about, from that capacity building standpoint of this is, and for me that feels different than expectations, but at least having a conversation.
Yeah. Well, we had ours for that, I don't know if it's out here now, we just had a training about this not too long ago. It has to do with apparently client privilege, attorney-client privilege, and if you BCC information that they didn't know, and I don't know if this is true for Colorado, but it was something I didn't know prior to, and we're not allowed to do it, it's just that once you do it, totally off topic, but once you do it, you've waived that privilege that exists between client and attorney if you share that information outside of, I was like, oh, mind blowing, how many times have I done that?
I know.
A lot.
Like, FYI, look who's
How many
what.
times have I waived that privilege?
Yeah.
So, two issues that, we run into having, as employees in our organization which is an advocacy organization, is one that they're mandated reporters, and trying to explain that, what that means, and making sure that they know that before they come in, because they may not want to do the job because they have to, that changes their relationship with some of their peers. And then the other whole thing is just, and I think we have this conversation with everybody, but sometimes it seems to have, it's been a harder conversation to say about how, like, once you become this, you have this title and stuff, you can't write stuff on Facebook like that you usually do, because, trying to explain to people you can't be two people, you can't be this person that has this persona on social media, on Instagram, and then also have this job. And I'm wondering if you've had those conversations or not with people.
So I don't know if they've been that explicit.
Yeah.
We talk about, and I also think that there's a gray, very, very gray in the middle, that I post a lot of stuff that would be unfortunately it's considered controversial. Like things around Black Lives Matter and how that impacts my family and my children and all of those things, and things that my department would probably be like, you're saying this, and you know what, that's my personal time and my personal way, and I get to say that. But we do have the conversation, it's in their orientation document, about if you're going to advocate for something and go march to the or to the Capitol, then you cannot be on employee time, and you cannot say you're representing the Department of Public Health and Environment. So we have that conversation. I think for me it's more nuanced, just like, again, the critical thinking. When this gets posted, it's there forever, and people can have it, but we haven't had to have that explicit conversation, because I personally believe that there's a right for people to do whatever they want online and have their own separate life outside of their job. because I do. So.
Okay, so what is happening? Oh, it thinks that we're starting. Where did it go? No.
I think it's.
Is it hiding?
Tell me.
Where did it go? I'm so confused. Audra, do you see what's happening?
No, did it shut down?
I don't know. Okay, that's.
Would you just want to pull it up again?
Oh, that is it. Never mind.
Okay.
Okay. Shoot. Okay, so at the end of this video, are you guys getting like deafened by what's coming out of there, or is that like a good volume? Okay. Let's.
You want us to turn it down?
No, it's when you did it.
Okay. Shoot. We lost it. Come back, computer.
Do you want to maybe go to the next one?
Well, it's not loading.
You just go to YouTube.
Okay, so now we're going to hear from some youth advisors specifically about some of the challenges that they've had in the workplace.
So youth-friendly workplaces are not in place in these professional arenas that we go into in public agencies. It's not easy to come in and be a youth advisor where everyone is always used to being professional. One of the biggest things in creating a youth-friendly workplace is being accepting of youth culture. We're gonna call you dude. We're gonna talk about our fandoms and our video games and everything that we're interested in. We're probably gonna wear shirts with those things on it. We don't necessarily dress professionally like you might think we should. Another big thing about being a youth-friendly workplace is treat us like youth, but don't treat us like kids. Don't tell me that I should treat my supervisor like my mom. Don't tell me that I remind you of your son when I'm driving. Don't monitor me closely because I'm younger than everyone else. And please, please do not remind me how young I am whenever it occurs to you. Treat me like an adult, like a colleague.
Make your young person feel really welcome and invite them to like all of your outings. You may have, not happy hour if you're all in preventative. Don't invite your youth to that. Outings and social functions just to make them feel like you are seen as a team member and your thoughts and values are like very important to us.
As all things, people don't really want to listen to you, a youth. It's kind of like, well, I'm older than you, you don't know anything. Well, yes, I do. They don't want to acknowledge that we're actually here. I would think that would be the biggest challenge of the bunch is, at least trying to find that connection to people outside people actually wanting to use youth advisors.
Just keep it real. It's like kind of an odd dynamic at first, like when youth are introduced to a workplace, adults are like, oh, I have to act a certain way, or I have to be like extra youth friendly, or I have to like be very professional with them. And it's like, just be yourself and like keep it real and be genuine with us. And I think that's how we will have the best response and relationship.
Yay. Go, Audra.
Oh, okay. So I'm gonna look at my notes again. So shifting the culture. So one of the things when we embarked on this whole, we're gonna have young people in our environment, what is this gonna look like? We had champions. How many of you believe that you have a handful of champions in your offices of youth engagement? They would be excited. Yeah, so we believe the same thing, and we did. And yet, there were people who would be giving technical assistance or coaching or whatever to local communities to say, yes, you need to engage young people as partners. But then when this person found out we were engaging young people in our department, we get this random email that said, hi, I'm so glad you're gonna be hiring young people. This is gonna be such a great time. Can you please not put them in my cubicle aisle? I was like, what the heck is that about? So we had a conversation and she was like, they just talk really loudly and they wear a lot of cologne. And so I was like, well, FYI, I hear you 3 cubicle aisles over. That's how I know you to coach communities on this. So we realized at that moment that we really needed to prepare the environment for young people to be in it. And so we went around, so our department is like many people's, it's huge, right? And so we went around to every, I don't know, remember what they were called at the time because we've changed names of our structural processes, but like every branch in the department. We even went to the environmental side, so it wasn't just focused on the health side. And we said, hey, young people are coming. These are some things to know. So we created a top 12 things to do, because we're strengths-based, top 12 things to do when working with young people at CDPHE. And the first one was so ridiculous. And what do you think it was, actually? What's the first thing to do when working with young people? Yes, yes! And so we thought, okay, this is gonna be ridiculous. And we actually had a moment. We said, just say hi. You don't have to go up to somebody and say, yo, what's up? How's it going? Hashtag love ya. I mean, you don't have to do any of that stuff, right? Just be normal. And so there was a moment where my colleague who had been doing the trainings with me saw it play out. This woman was walking down the hall and there was a young person coming her way, and she said that you could see her physically like go, oh my gosh, there's a young person. And she stopped and she was like, hi. You know, and a little awkward, right? But it's getting people to understand that they're not these, and our society treats them as aliens. I'm sorry, young people, and hopefully that resonates a little bit with you, that we treat you as these like odd things, and adolescence is just something we have to get through, not something that we get to experience, right? And so we had to do some social norming, I don't know, around what adolescence is like, and then we, little thing, and we made them funny. So it was like, when 2 to 3 youth advisors are convening in a cubicle, it's not a gang, and making a joke of things and making light, but really people are terrified of what they don't know, right? And it's anytime you bring anything different into an environment. I'll tell you that Sam Ramos, who you have met through the video, he is a young person with special health care needs, and when he came in, these are all the dumb assumptions that we make as human beings, and I thought I was doing the right thing by saying, hey, Sam, as your supervisor, I'm gonna assume that you can do everything that anybody else can do, and he was like, great, but what I didn't realize, that one of the skills that he needed to work on was being assertive, and so he wasn't telling me what he actually needed to be successful as a youth advisor. And so we ended up, and it's in your packet, he created a list of accommodations. So when he's introducing himself to people in new meetings and new settings, he is introducing himself so that he can show up successfully as Sam in these environments. And so how are we setting the environment that way? It's big. And then another one, I'm kind of jumping ahead, but it's about getting leadership buy-in. So I already talked about that, but you'll see a slide of our current executive director with like a thumbs up, for the getting leadership buy-in. And I think that is a very good indication of the tone that we have. I sent him an email and I said, Catherine and I are giving a presentation on youth engagement in our department. Can you please send me a selfie? And he did right away. I mean, he is all about this kind of stuff. And so it's so critical to bring our leaders along as well and continue to push. Not waiting for them, push, but bring them along at the same time.
I just kind of had just a fleeting thought that why are we in the state sector and public health just coming onto this idea of hiring? I mean, I've had a job since I was 14 years old.
Right.
And the expectation for me when I worked at Pizza Hut was the same expectation that my coworker had as an adult. So it's interesting to me to think about why are we in this arena so afraid of kids when youth.
Yeah, good return. I think too that it's this piece of, do we actually want to know what they have to say? And there's this delineation of who is an expert and who is not, right? So we see, because we have gone to school or we've been in a professional setting for 20 plus years and we have a very long resume, even if it doesn't include education on there, and we assume because of that, we have an expertise. There's a great document that I really appreciate, I bring it up a lot, but it's from the Tamarack Institute, and it talks about content versus context experts. And in order to achieve equity, you have to engage context experts and see them as such. So how are you bringing the people who know the life, their experience is the best, to the table? And so shifting that power, I think that's a big part of youth and adult partnerships.
Cool. Okay. We have another video. so you can, again, figure out what is going wrong.
So, we're doing a documentary about millennials and finding out what they're really like in the workplace. Let's go find them. There they are.
You're here today. So as you know, in public health, part of our job is to look at the data and find disparities that exist for certain populations and then address those disparities so that to reduce them so that they don't exist any longer. So I wanted to go over this with you and get your insight as a young person.
Yeah, totally.
That we are looking specifically at the Healthy Kids data and focusing in on young Black men and their connection to caring adults. And so I want to know what you think.
One person got it. I think it's going to make a really big difference, and I'm excited to get your input, and I really want to hear your story.
Yeah, you know, I think I have some input about this process.
You know, that's really great, but you are here for your story. Well, you know, I actually had this experience.
That's great, Audra.
And
But Catherine, the youth story is so powerful. Last time you told your story, I was in tears. And I just think that emotional connection that people will have, and then we can put it on like Instagram or Facebook, and it can go viral, and everyone will hear your story. And think of that impact that we could have, how that heart that everyone's going to feel towards you and your story. This is going to be awesome.
Hey, so Lauren, I just wanted to check in with you about this meeting that we're going to have for youth engagement and just make sure that it's actually accessible for young people to show up to. So making sure that it's on like public transit routes and that it's after school or during the weekend when more young people can show up. Because I know that, you know, last time for the meeting that we had, a lot of young people didn't show up because it was during the morning on Wednesday.
I really appreciate that input, but I just want you to know that I have a degree in youth development, so I pretty much know how this whole thing works. It's like youth-adult partnership. I've got it, so don't worry. This meeting will be fine.
I'm so excited that you're meeting with me today. I'm so excited about this because I'm sure, like as a young person, you have smoked marijuana or had gonorrhea or smoked at least a cigarette. So I'm sure that you, at least one of those things. So I wanted you to see these flyers because we don't want young people to have gonorrhea or smoke marijuana or smoke cigarettes.
Yeah, totally.
So will you look at these flyers? What do you think? What do you think of these? I've worked really hard on them. I've put a lot of time.
Well, maybe this one, like I wouldn't pick this up at the clinic.
Why? But it's like the got milk. Like I'm doing a play on words.
Well, I feel like I wouldn't want to announce to people that I think I might have gonorrhea.
Yeah,
let's look at your other ones though.
Okay.
What were you doing with the thumbs up picture?
Well, because people think it's cool.
Right. Maybe we could change this around a little, lace out some of these paragraphs a little more.
These words are really, like it's important for us to tell young people everything that they need to know about tobacco.
I think young people already know tobacco is like bad for them. I don't know if you need these statistics about 41,000 deaths among non-smoking adults from secondhand smoke. Let's go to the next one.
Knowledge is power.
Let's move on. Yeah, again, I feel like young people might already know this. We could make this a little more youth-friendly.
What does that mean, youth-friendly? Like, it has a young person on there.
Totally. I kind of feel like if I saw this flyer, I probably wouldn't pick it up as I was passing by. You know? Maybe we could go back to the drawing board.
Okay, you know, I worked really hard.
Yeah.
Spent a lot of time on this.
I know. Yeah. I think this is it's a good start.
So I've thought a lot about our conversation, and I've decided that young people do want to read flyers, and you know, that has thumbs up and happy smiles and young people, and that they're going to want to read this because they need to know this.
You know, I feel like I gotta be straight with you, Audra. I don't think young people are gonna read these things.
Is it just that young people don't care?
That's not it. We definitely care. I just feel like this information could be like made a little more presentable. And honestly, young people do not look at flyers.
I don't get it. Hey. Oh! Yes. Why won't young people engage with us?
I don't know. We're trying. So what went wrong? Was everything fine in that? Yeah.
I would say that there's a lot that the person who's the adult, they did a lot of work before they even met with the young person. So like the process started way before they sat at the table, and so start early, start sooner in the process.
Also, it was, the adult was not willing to be flexible.
Right.
The adult. I like how you guys are like the adult.
Yeah, okay.
I just don't think that the young person was treated truly as a partner and an equal, and you could do just an air of, here's how it's gonna be.
Mm-hmm. Right. Nobody was listening to me. Every time I would, the young person would say something, I was either shot down or I was ignored. Right. So I wasn't making decisions. Yeah.
The whole fetishization of like the story, like we need to hear your story.
Mm-hmm.
Like for some people, it's sometimes it's painful to talk about their story, or sometimes it means a lot more than just being viral or public.
Right. And sometimes we have more to contribute than just like our story. We can say, you know, I don't think that this program that you're doing here is like correct, except instead we're just asked, no, I just really want you to talk about all of your problems because it's inspirational, right? That happens a lot.
I mean, just the young person was tokenized in so many ways through that process, not just because they were young.
Right. Was there a hand over here? Anyone else? Yeah.
I make flyers. I tell people not to make flyers, but like, the thing that was getting at was like, how do I let go of the stuff that I believe and I know and I'm comfortable with? Do you know what I mean? And then you had to confront that in addition to getting feedback. Do you know what I mean? Like, there's a whole thing happening behind that, and I think that's true like with public health. Like if you're criticizing a program that I conceived or that the federal government funded, I mean, same stuff, right? Because it almost feels like a personal attack on me.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
and a triple win.
Right. It's all, yeah, it makes me think of like, we really want feedback until we get it sometimes. And we suddenly go, oh wait, you mean that, this means I need to change things now? Oh wait, I didn't actually want that.
Right.
Right.
The other thing that I think stood out here too, is in one of the first videos, is assuming that Catherine can speak on behalf of all young people with all life experiences. So what is it like to be a young black man, Catherine? I don't know. You know, and so how do we make sure that we're engaging the young people who are the people we want to reach, right? So Catherine brings a perspective, and when we're talking about young people in rural Colorado, she has a personal experience with that and is able to bring that. And she also needs, that's why there's the 3 buckets, right? She gives feedback when it applies to her, and then she gets feedback. So she is part of rallying the troops, going out and connecting with other young people who have those different life experiences, so that when she is sitting at the table, she can bring all of their voices and experiences to that table, even though she hasn't personally experienced it.
No. Oh, it's just another thing that I noticed was the flyers had young people on them, and Xavier can attest to this. Whenever I see a magazine or like a brochure or a flyer that has a picture of a person wearing a hijab, I automatically pick it up regardless of what it says. I'm like, ooh, that person is me, and I just pick it up. And another thing I think is it's important to have pictures, and I know it seems like a trivial thing, but just having pictures of people that look like the people you're serving is also fundamental.
Those thumbs were extremely ivory colored, I just wanted to say. That's not Rihanna's makeup line, no.
Yes.
I think one of the challenges that was illustrated there is, that I find is, I've seen it with family leaders or family representatives, family delegates too, that things that are largely systems-based and large systems perspective sometimes they look at, here's the one parent and the tokenism of this one parent has a story that illustrates one person, but they fail to see sometimes that some of these parents are really the connection, like to the rural Colorado community, and connection to other families, and connection to other youth. So yes, while Catherine can't talk about what it's like to be a young black man, she does have a connection possibly to young black men who are in her maybe social network, maybe in her, class, or whatever. So
And in that case, I think it's like the coming to me and asking, Catherine, how can I engage with these youth groups who are going to be representing this community? So I can do that rather than going, Catherine, what do young black men think about this?
Right.
Yeah,
Yes.
and it's saying to me, yeah, I know you're really involved with all these different youth groups and youth councils, and you know who's out there. Can you please help me with connecting to them? There's a hand, yeah.
I apologize if you've already answered this, but where are you actually located? Where do you advocates actually, are they all at a central office? Are they in rural, or not rural, but locations across the state?
Right, so where I'm at, like our office is in Denver, and most of the state agencies are located in Denver. I think that there's 3 or 4 agencies right now that have youth advisors that are like at the state level. There's local public health agencies with like in the Denver metro area, and then also in rural Colorado, like on the western slope and in the mountains. So there's like a centralized piece in Denver operating out like several agencies and community orgs, and then there's a lot of people that are spread out around the state.
So in terms of accessibility, transportation, all that stuff, it could be a little bit more local, or is everyone having to move, I guess, to be able to access? I'm sorry, I'm trying to wrap my brain around it.
Yeah, so Catherine didn't have to move to come, I mean, she could have commuted, I guess, from where she.
For like
Yeah.
2+ hours.
Yeah, it would have been miserable. But, so that's the unfortunate thing, and it's also the reason why we have part of the role to connect to other young people, because if they're living in the Denver metro area, which she is now, their job is to travel around the state. So that's where she gets access to the state cars, the state plane, all of those things, to be able to go and connect with other young people. But they're located in their particular communities and their agencies. It's a good question. Cool. This is a random question that just popped into my head. Is anybody sitting here and is like, yeah, I know all this stuff, or this seems like, and you can be really honest, like, does it seem like it's really basic in the sense of, say hi to a young person? Okay, I feel like you're not gonna say yes even if you think that. But the reason I'm asking is because sometimes I think hearing this information in a conference, you're thinking, I get this, and that's the reason you're in the room. That's the reason you chose to be in this room. But hiring young people, this is the stuff, all of the stuff that you will face in creating a cultural shift in your organization. And so it's one of the things that we found really necessary to call out, because if you don't pay attention to the cultural shift necessary to have young people embedded into your organization, these are all the things that you'll face, and young people, like Catherine said, are gonna go running for the hills, or the farm, or wherever else, but they'll go running because it's this type of thing. When we talk about diversity and inclusion work, you know, it's a big thing. We're gonna diversify our hiring practices, and which is a necessary thing. It's one of the areas of our organization that we're doing. It's exciting and amazing. And one of the things that we forget in that diversity of employment is that we don't focus on inclusive practices. And so when people who have different backgrounds and different experiences come into our environment, they sometimes experience a lot of awful things, right? A lot of microaggressions that young people are not immune to. And so how do we make sure that those things don't happen? And it's part of it by preparing ourselves and getting ready for them.
So, yeah, I think that's, I've been struggling with this, the fact that you call them youth advisors, a little bit.
Yeah.
I mean, it's wonderful, what you're doing is amazing, I'm learning.
Oh, I'm with you, so it's okay.
But, so that's why I say I like what you're saying now, I mean, there's a way to just put it within the context of just cultural and linguistic competency on the job or in an organization in general, and not have it be such, like, okay, so you're hiring people who are GLBTQ, you're hiring people, all different types of diversity in the workplace, so can it just be part within that context? But when you separate it out yet again, and I'm wondering that you're almost making it like there is something like weird and, kind of weird about it, or something a little bit even that much different about it, that's all.
Yeah, I really appreciate you, and I think that we have talked about the title Youth Advisor. It was a title that I actually did not love when it first came about at all, for numerous reasons, but the young people who were creating the position actually created the title. And so, and it doesn't imply what they actually do, because they actually do projects, they don't only advise. And so there's a lot of issues, but it's just like the State Adolescent Health Coordinator, that's my title, well, what the heck does that mean, right? And if you compare yourself to other states and that role, it looks different across every state. So I think that it's a barrier in the sense of being, but I think it's a step. We definitely have not arrived, but we're getting closer. Okay, sorry.
Okay, I'm going to play what the youth advisors had to say about some of these similar scenarios that they faced.
You know, one thing that I don't enjoy is kind of this aspect of like tokenization, and I think it shows up in any like organization that hires youth advisors, you know, for their first time. I think it's kind of normal for it to happen because it's definitely something that can come up really easily. People have asked me to speak for like all of the youth, and like youth are unique and different, so I think that is, you can't really speak for a whole population. But then I've also had instances where, you know, I've been wanting to make a decision using my youth expertise, and I've had pushback saying, oh, well, we need to ask all of these other youth and see if that's the right thing to do before moving forward. So I think there needs to be a balance of like trust and also like getting that input from a larger community and a larger group.
Some of us don't have the college experience or been in government long. It's been an atmosphere of you're new and you're youth. You don't know what you're doing. That's been kind of what it is sometimes. Even when I tell my teachers I'm working for state government, they look at me like, you do that? Like we're some kid telling us, like, I'm gonna go be a police officer or a fireman or an astronaut.
Young people can't get their voice heard. It's really kind of frustrating when you're in a meeting and you have an idea, but you know, you're kind of dismissed. I've really seen that a lot in some new experiences in college of just like, oh, okay, you're a college kid and I'm not gonna take what you say seriously, even though I know that I hold that power. They don't know that.
The thing I like the least about being a youth advisor is just not having the trust, and I think it was more like prevalent when we first started. But just the trust with our higher ups that what we have to contribute is valuable. I think they want to listen to what we had to say, but not necessarily follow through and take action on what we had to say. Yes, adults generally have more knowledge on certain things and more wisdom, but who knows better about the current youth than current youth? Relationships working with young people need to be equal give and take.
A big success, at least at CPHE, is the whole environment is open to youth input and youth feedback. But just upon arriving, it's kind of, you know, we want to use young people in our policies and have them look at different things.
Okay, so we have one more skits video.
I'm doing a little bit of a documentary about millennials in the workplace.
Catherine, I'm so glad you started here. I don't know anything about social media, so I'm so excited that you get to take on all that stuff. Like, you can do our Facebook page or our Instagram page and Snapchat, because all young people are on Snapchat, so we're definitely using Snapchat. Oh, maybe Tumblr or like Vine, or I don't even know the other ones that exist. Oh, then you can help me with my Facebook. I cannot figure out how to post this picture and tag people. Can you help me figure out how to do that? And then I really want an Instagram account, but I can't think of the handle yet. So, oh my gosh, so much social media stuff to do. We're gonna reach so many young people.
Yeah, just one problem is I still use this actually.
Whoa, what is this?
It's a flip phone.
What's she working on? Did you answer that email that I just sent you a few seconds ago?
No, I have been working on a
Okay, it's
project.
really important. Make sure you get up right away for a
Yeah,
second.
sure will.
Oh, Catherine, hey, are you on Facebook right now?
Yeah, I'm updating the organization's Facebook page like you guys asked.
Oh yeah, totally forgot. Sorry. Be right back. Catherine, okay, I sent you another email, and then I also need you to do your timesheet, and I really need you to get back to that organization that you're supposed to give feedback to. I think it was due last week, I don't know. There's one other thing, but I can't remember, so I'll come back and bug you again. Okay, see you later.
Thanks.
Hey, Catherine, did you eat lunch yet? You want to go get lunch?
No, I actually, I have to finish this PowerPoint.
Keep working. And okay, yeah, Facebook, totally forgot again. Sorry. Okay. Catherine, I'm sorry, I haven't gotten that email yet, and I really need that email, and I'm not sure what you're doing, so just can you get that to me right now?
I haven't gotten your email. Are you sure you actually CC'd me on it?
Oh, crap. I think it's one of those, like, draft things that I never sent. Sorry.
No problem.
Catherine, I just
kind of want to get some feedback on what your week looks like this week, because I just want to make sure that I know that you're like meeting the expectations and you're doing everything that you need to get done. So what are you doing this week? What are you working on right now?
Yeah, totally. I'm still working Monday, Wednesday, Friday, like always, and I'm working on those 2 projects that you assigned me last week.
Okay, yeah, but what are you doing right now, like this moment?
Well, I did just update our Instagram page like you guys had asked me to handle all this.
Can you tell me what you're going to do in the next moment, just so I know?
One of those projects.
Okay, I'll be back. I'm going to check in in another 5 minutes, and then it'll be great. And then, yeah, okay. Bye, Catherine.
So that's why working with young people in equitable partnerships is important. Does anyone have any questions? How do you do?
You know, I have some feedback for you. I took some notes. Do you mind if I give you a little bit of feedback? Yeah, thank you for doing that, first of all. You said quite a bit during that whole presentation, and it implies that you're really struggling with what you're saying. And so if you could just stop saying
Okay, yeah, sure, I'll
that'd be
work
great.
on that.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
Let's see. Oh, you know, you should talk slower. It was really hard to track you and follow what you were saying. Yeah, so just slow it down quite a bit would be really helpful.
Yeah. Okay, sure. Is there anything else I should work on?
You know, fidgeting. Fidgeting takes away from a presentation completely when you're like just putting your hands all over the place. People want to focus on your words.
Okay.
And then the last thing is those memes. You had a lot of them in there. And, you know, I just don't get them. I don't get the memes.
Hey, I'm so sorry to interrupt. I just want to say, Catherine, that was amazing. Like that presentation made me think a lot, and so I'm really excited to do some things different in the work that I do. And you are such a lucky supervisor to have an amazing young person working for you like that.
Yeah, thanks so much. Our team worked really hard on that presentation. See you later. Bye.
Bye. Thoughts? Micromanage, yeah.
Any sort of supervision, you need to give people people can't create from a vacuum. Just point out the positive things that people have, or ask you what you think you do well, what you'd like to do differently. It seems to me like there's just some bad supervision in general going on there. Sorry, but.
Right, yeah, it wasn't strengths-based at all, and I was never told anything that I did well, and like you said, like I was never, like, the supervisor never asked at all, oh, well, how do you think about how you did, right? And so that's not actually what I was like. What else?
Yeah, taking credit for winning, like that hurt me on the inside. Sorry. That was really rough to see, but it happens all the time, you know, to peers, let alone, you know, whatever I don't know, we might call him a person who works with us, who's of a different age than us. So that was really tough to yeah.
I would say that something that Glennis and I have talked about a few times is this idea of positive youth development that we're all most likely familiar with the room. And this idea of what would it mean to not totally rename it, but to consider it as like positive people development. Because if anybody comes into an organization with a different perspective, it's most likely, and science and evidence shows, that whole organization is going to learn along with that young person. So, because we're introducing a new element into the environment. So, considering that all those opportunities show that it wasn't just the young person or Catherine in this instance learning, but that it was a great opportunity for the adults or for the professionals or whatever we want to name it to learn too, and the whole organization.
Right, and some of the folks have already pointed out too about like how a lot of the stuff that just happened, it wasn't just about being a young person, it was just like bad supervision. Nobody wants to be treated this way. Yeah.
The only thing I'm thinking is just like thinking about intersectionality, and it's just not, I just look at ages in here, there's somebody could be, you know, dealing with racism, they could be dealing with sexism, you know, just homophobic, like, you're not a young person,
right?
That's limited. There's most likely other things too, and just
part of celebrating who's sitting at the table sometimes means for, in this case, adults, is advocating for and challenging processes. So making sure, like if I was sitting next to Catherine when somebody was talking to her like that, being able to say, oh, I'm sorry, you know, hold on just a second, stop, you know, and Catherine did an incredible job in that, you know, it's kind of what Lauren had done, and being willing to challenge a process, which I think that's another piece of all of this work, is it's setting the environment, but it's also being willing to put yourself at risk in many ways and utilizing your own social capital to move things forward.
And especially when you're in a really institutionalized setting, it tends to be really rigid in its implementation.
Yeah, I gotta say I'm struggling with that a lot, this particular one. Like in that scenario, the critical feedback on her presence and presentation and the little teeny things which diverts attention from the content and what's really important, right?
Yeah.
And that's to anybody. At the same time though, young people being judged by those corporate, or not corporate, but like that structural power entity, do you know what I mean? And that feedback about what you wear and all that sort of stuff. Like, I am definitely somebody who would be like, wow, you had to wear the Insane Clown Posse t-shirt to the thing today, what, you know, wow, yeah, right? I'm just struggling with that right now.
Yeah. Struggling with how to navigate it?
Yeah. And like, what's the old person responsibility or not in that setting?
Yeah. Well, I think it's a matter, I mean, for me, I don't know what the right answer is. I mean, we're just feeling our way through this and we bump into walls and roadblocks all the time. But I think like with the feedback piece, it's our job to support Catherine's development, and yet that's not where we lead from, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And so like, I think, and I don't know what you would say, but I feel like having the relationship too, to be able to say, okay, let's talk about all of this. I don't know. I think a lot of times people either go, you're amazing, and give no feedback, and then allow them to just float and crash, or they focus so much on the feedback that they don't actually help them lift off.
Yeah, I think it's about the relationship and about having the balance in there. Because like when Audra and I have our check-ins, or we do presentations together or whatever, then like we make sure that we have a balance of talking about like, okay, this is the stuff that went really well, and this is the stuff that like I can keep doing next time, and then we have a really honest conversation about like, okay, what is the stuff that like, where are the opportunities for growth and improvement, right? Not, oh, Catherine, you did this, and this wrong, and you should feel terrible about yourself.
Right.
But yeah, having the balance, and I think that goes towards like what you were talking about, like with dress codes or whatever too, right? Is establishing expectations about ways that, like sort of going back and talking about ways to navigate the workplace, right? So that the people who don't have buy-in to youth being leaders and partners are going to be able to see a young person do a presentation or some other sort of project, and they're going to be able to take that young person in the content of what they're doing seriously because of the way they presented it. So it is going to be like, it's a balance, which isn't fair, and that's something that like, as youth advisors, like we do have to deal with. And then I think the other part of that is then like, that's where the support of coworkers comes in. And just like I said, how I can send GIFs and memes to Audra, but I don't do that with most other people, right? And Audra recognizes that I can do a really good job at what I do, and we can have check-ins about those things. And so Audra is able to like let me keep my GIFs, right? In my emails. Whereas with other people, we both have the baseline expectation of the way that I'm communicating or dressing for work or showing up to different things is going to be different, so that I'm doing the part of meeting the other people in the room where they're at in regards to like not taking young people seriously.
Yeah, and I think too, one of the things that I realized very early on was that there is this level of self-awareness in young people that I remember the first time that we presented together. How do you think it went? She actually was so much harder on herself in regards than anything that I identified, but everything was in line with everything that I had feedback on, she already covered. And so just recognizing that young people are no different in their self-awareness typically, that you can say, what would you do different next time? and they would probably hit every single bullet that I could potentially cover. So,
Okay.
So it's 4 o'clock.
Right. Okay.
4:09.
Right. Okay. I'm gonna give you all a 5-minute break so you can get up and stretch and like move your bodies a little bit, and then we'll come back and we'll get through the hiring and onboarding, and then yeah. So I want to give you guys a little bit of a brain break. So please be back at 4:14. Okay.
The last 15 minutes.
We can get through this, friends. I believe in you. Okay, so we're skipping ahead to talking about actual job posting and writing a job description and things to keep in mind. And part of this harkens back to the conversation that we just had about like intersectionality and thinking about hiring young people who are from the communities that you want to engage with in your agency, right? And so first of all, something that's important to think about is your actual wording on your job announcement or your job description, and whether or not you're making it so that young people can see themselves in the job post that you're putting up. And so Jocelyn Hernandez, who is in some of these videos and is a youth advisor that I work with pretty closely, she and I were talking about how when an application for a job says highly competitive, she said, well, as a person of color who is from a low-income community and I see a highly competitive position, that makes me think that they're not looking for people who look like me. They're not looking for people with my experience to hire. However, if you're saying in your job description something like, young people with diverse life experiences are highly encouraged to apply, bilingual applicants are highly encouraged to apply, those sorts of words are like, it's like code for young people to say, oh, this is me that you're looking to hire, and it's my lived experience and expertise that you want, versus, oh, this is just the straight A student who's super involved with everything already. You're looking for that person. And then kind of going along with that is just thinking about the education and experience requirements, both that your agency or organization might have is a policy, and then also, again, looking at the young people you're hoping to hire. So are you going to require that somebody has graduated from high school? Can they have gotten a GED? Those sorts of things. And I think, again, really bringing it back to trying to integrate into the job application itself, this idea that young people with diverse life experiences are highly encouraged to apply, so that people of color can see themselves in it, youth with disabilities can see themselves in it, youth from low-income backgrounds or rural backgrounds are going to be able to see themselves in this wording, and that they're not going to be tripped up by different requirements that your organization just sort of slaps on there without really thinking about it in terms of education. Legalities, we already kind of covered this one, just thinking about collaborating with HR about how you can word such a job announcement or description so that it's not age discrimination, and like Audra said, the way we did it was ages 16 to 21 are highly encouraged to apply. And then thinking about where to post. Where do you think that you would post your job announcement? Any ideas? Social media, yeah. So this is super great, and I think a thing to think about with social media is that it's not just going to be for like your agency's Facebook page, right? Because how many young people are following that? So thinking about how to push it out on social media. Linus, did you have something?
You don't think my own social media page would be effective either?
You could do that. How many young people friends do you have? Yeah.
All the youth groups and all my partner organizations that I know, and so I would push it all to them and ask them to help me.
Right, yeah, and this is a big key thing because a lot of the times with the young people who are, say, involved with foster care, or they've had experience with the juvenile justice system, or these other systems who, again, might not traditionally see themselves in this, it's also a problem that the adults who are the gatekeepers to those youth, essentially, they're not seeing young people in this description. They get it in their inbox and they go, oh, that's not for my young person. Okay, delete, I'm going on to the next one. So it's thinking about reaching out to the adult networks that you have who work with young people who you might want to recruit, and making sure they understand that this application is for their young people. Any other ideas?
And that's the social media app also.
Right, yeah, right. Cool, yeah. And I just want to emphasize that posting it to LinkedIn or your job agency's, yeah, like your agency's job board. They're not places that young people are usually looking. Cool, I think we covered this. Okay, so once you have youth advisors, we've already talked about most of this, but just different expectations that youth advisors might have coming in. So again, with that youth advisor orientation document that I mentioned, that is a great resource to be able to look at in your packet and sort of think about, okay, what are some things that I'm not thinking about that a young person might come in and they might not have been in a professional workplace before, and what are some of the things that we can have discussions about, like adding memes to emails. And then this is a video about, we have a youth advisor network, which is a group of youth advisors in Colorado. I think we have like 15 members right now. And this is a video about us, and I'm going to explain a little bit more about who we are and why it's super important.
Hi, we're Sin United. Alejandra also told me that she worked with other youth advisors to create Sin United.
Sin United is a community of youth advisors,
which allowed me to work and network with other youth advisors and share some of the issues and troubles that I had coming in.
Our goal is to improve work relations and provide professional growth for young people.
It's really nice to be able to have a group of youth advisors that you can sort of email and just say, hey, I'm working on this project, like what are your preliminary thoughts on this?
It's sort of a wealth exchange group that allows us to be more effective youth advisors because we are all in like-minded positions.
Sin United identifies solutions for building positive youth development principles in their workplace.
And then we just have a lot of fun. Young people know how to throw really good meetings. And so a lot of our meetings, we've had potlucks or we filmed videos together before. And it's a lot of fun to be able to collaborate together. There's just a lot of energy in the air and everybody's really happy to be there and to be working with each other, which is a really good feeling.
By the way, we almost forgot to tell you, Sin United stands for Statewide Youth Network United. SIN is an acronym that means together, same, similar. And we just wanted to reemphasize that we truly are united.
So, SIN United, we have a really official charter. It's like 10 pages long. Like, it's serious. And we made it ourselves, and it's a group entirely of youth advisors, nobody else in it. And like the video explained, it's a support network. We meet monthly, usually for about 2 hours. And a lot of it is coming together to collaborate on different projects that we're doing. For example, this presentation was literally co-created by SIN United. You've seen everybody's faces on it. And then a lot of it is also just talking about the challenges that we've all talked about here so far with having young people in the workplace. And something that's really helpful is having other youth advisors you can go to who go, oh yeah, I've also had that experience and this is how I dealt with it. And then also being able to tackle experiences like these as a group is figuring out, oh, these are all the experiences that all of us keep encountering in the office environment. And rather than just going and trying to single out a supervisor or trying to just say, oh, well, that sounds too bad, you should just talk to your supervisor about that if they're not listening, is as a group we can come in and create presentations and pull in all the supervisors together and give a generalized presentation about how to treat a young person in the workplace and some things that are going well and aren't going well. So it gives a lot of, it's just a really good support, both emotionally and professionally for us all to be involved with. Trying to think if I had anything else to say about them. They're really great. You can email us. Our email is at the end.
The other thing too, I think it's really unique and it's been really helpful for our youth advisors is that they hold other people's supervisors accountable. So it's been numerous times where I've gotten emails from other SIN United members, not Catherine, to say, this is what's happening with one of our other members. What are you as a supervisor going to do about it? So that makes me remain connected with the other supervisors to make sure that we're talking on a regular basis. And so for me, it means setting up monthly calls with some of the other supervisors to have check-ins so that I can keep tabs and remain allies for youth advisors themselves. So lessons learned. I love it, Thea. Okay. So number one, the importance of why you're hiring. We panicked when we hired NCHM and Leslie. We were like, we're going to do this, it's going to shift our policies, practices, and programs, it's going to be amazing. Then they got there and we were like, oh my God, we have no idea what to do. Here, I have to do systems work, do some systems work. You have to do sexual health work, do some, and that wasn't actually the reason. So it was 6 months down the road, they were fumbling, we were fumbling, and we sat down and had a meeting to say, okay, we need to start again and relook at what your job expectations are. And so that's really where we created the buckets, and remembering that their job, the way that I state it anytime I'm talking to anybody, is their job is to challenge the process while building the relationship. So we want them to help teach people that engaging young people is really important and really powerful in creating change. And in order to do that, you have to build a relationship, but you can't create change if you're willing to deal with the same. And so to challenge the process while simultaneously building a relationship, ultimately that's their job. And then for me, the other big thing is that every time I thought when NCHM and Leslie were done, I was like, sweet, not sweet that they're gone, but sweet, I have this youth advisor thing down. It is going to be so much smoother this time around. And then Catherine and Sam came, and I was like, Catherine is her own unique person. Sam is his own unique person. And both of them come with different strengths and different opportunities for growth. And so it requires this ongoing, continuous quality improvement, right? That's our language in public health, that we are continuously having to look at what we're doing and how we're doing it and what the impact is, and then shifting things. The other thing that I think is really important to note if you're interested in actually moving forward with hiring a youth advisor is that for us, it takes about a year to onboard a youth advisor so that they are ready, and they feel ready. Not that they are ready. Catherine was ready a long time ago, but whether she felt ready is a whole other story. And so building capacity to sit within our government structure, it's oppressive to sit there as anybody that is different than what historically has been. And so onboarding to that type of culture and understanding where you can push and where you can pull takes for us about a year. Yeah.
Okay, I want you all to grab a sticky note right now, and you are writing down 3 things, and this is for you to take back with you and or to come up to us at the end and be like, this is my thing. So one thing you learned, one thing you're going to do, and then a question that you have.
Okay, so before we close up, I did want to point out that in these books, and if you don't have one, there's some around the room, I think. We have created, in partnership with a student, a youth advisor model organizational readiness assessment. So it helps you go through. The thing that I wanted to call out, because hopefully you look through this book at some point, is that you will never, it's like what I said before, you may not be ready, like completely, 100%, check every single box and rate yourself really well. It does not mean that you shouldn't move forward. It just means you should move forward with more intentionality and be ready to make shifts. And we're happy to talk with you. Catherine's office hours, hopefully you get flooded. Catherine's office hours are weekly, and they're not just accessible to people in our state, they're accessible to anybody. So if there's anything that you want to brainstorm with her, or as young people, if you want to call her and talk about Sin United and see about creating your own network of youth advisors or youth advisory council members, in addition to your own council that you're on, that could be they have resources to share. So just know nothing, don't let perfect be the enemy of good. So I want to thank, are you doing more to say?
I have like one other thing.
Okay, you say your thing.
All right, yeah, so there are like more videos in case you're interested in what else we had to say that we had to skip through. And I will be sending those out to you all after this. Yeah, I had one other thing. I don't remember what it was. Thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, and I want to thank Catherine. She put this whole thing together. Literally, I did nothing. So this is the power of youth advisors, that once they're given the freedom and the flexibility and the creativity to take something and run, they do. And so I appreciate you, Catherine. You did a great job. And you're free to go. We'll be here for any questions.
Does everybody know what the youth adult hangout time? Does anybody have the details on that?
So, are you talking about the social?
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you have the details? Just a reminder if you want to keep this conversation going. I think it's at 4:45, right?
Yeah, soon.
Tomorrow night,
No, it's
7:30 to 8:30.
Oh, I got a different one.
Yes.
I thought it was. There's a family dinner tonight. Oh, I didn't know.
This is a youth leader meet and greet, I think. Yeah. Okay, well, if you're interested, we'll find out where it is.